Accra and Tamale, we're live on Kesmi 107.1 FM. If you can hear us in WA, it's on W 93.5. Around the world, we're streaming live on 3news.com. Download the tuning app from the Google Play or Apple iOS Store and listen to us on the go. Coming up this afternoon, Electoral Commission replaces paying sheet for Oyoko Methodist Primary School polling station after the electoral officer there allegedly forced agents of candidates to sign the document ahead of the commencement of polls in the crucial Kumewu constituency by-election. We're live there for details. Some misunderstanding as well erupt at the Dadiese LA primary school where voting is underway as well. Here on your election command center, we're live in the Kumewu constituency, as well as the opposition NDC insisting that the said electoral officer be changed. We have details of these stories, including development on other fronts, if you stay with us here on 3FM 92.7. Pleasure that you could be a part of this afternoon's bulletin. It's streaming live on Facebook. Our handles 3FM 927, as well as on Twitter, same handles 3FM 927. I am Eric Mawuena. Egbeta. Let's begin because the Electoral Commission says it has replaced a pink sheet for one of the polling centers in the ongoing Kumewu by-election after an electoral officer there allegedly forced party agents to sign the document before close of polls. The electoral officer for the Methodist Primary School station reportedly forced designated agent for both the National Democratic Congress, the NDC, and New Patriotic Party to append their signatures to the pink sheet before voting began. Per the electoral regulation, pink sheets are required to be signed after ballots are counted and results declared at the polling center. The action by the EC officials sparked tension, with NDC officials demanding that the said pink sheet and the electoral officer be replaced to avert violence. But the Electoral Commission says the said officer cannot be blamed for any wrongdoing. Director of Electoral Services at the EC, Dr. Siribo Kweku, described the development as a small snag, says the problem has been resolved. He's been speaking to William Evans Inkum.
So if the explanation he gave is the truth, that you cannot fault him much, because according to no one, if you have been observing elections, a lot of activity take place before, during, and after. So he was saying that when he completed his portion, he asked them to put their names there, and the people went beyond and signed. Right, so he didn't ask them to sign. If that's the case, then we can fault him for not supervising them. But if
getting prepared to be deployed to various polling centers across the Kumewu constituency, they're taking the final orders, and that is very crucial in their line of duty. I must say that security has been very tight, very proactive, ensuring the sanctity of this whole electoral process. And that is one thing the Inspector General of Police has been telling his man. Yesterday, when he engaged the political party, the message from him to the political parties, members of the political parties, was just simple. That is, we need to ensure free, fair, credible, and of course, incident-free an election. And everybody has a role to play. So he is looking forward to a total cooperation between the police and the various political parties who are directly involved in the Kumewu by-election.
I think we move on from that.
I know you've gone round. Have you also discovered any anomaly aside this one coming?
Unless you're telling me it's another one. I'm not aware of any. It's a positive. So this small snack should not bring any the system and dispute, because you have been going around and writings are being done. So this small snack should not bring any confusion or loss of confidence or whatever.
That's the Director of Electoral Services at the EC, Dr. Siribo Kweku. And so that was at the Oyoko Methodist Primary. Well, at the Dadiase LA school, there's also a case of misunderstanding currently brewing between the individuals there. Let's just take you there for a listen.
It's okay, hey.
And so it appears an individual is being sacked from the polling area, says that he's an observer, but that is not being respected by some of the individuals here. And so that's the situation at the Dadiase LA school currently, as voting continues in the Kumewu constituency, a crucial by-election to replace Philip Bazoa, who passed. 4 individuals seeking to become the next member of parliament for the constituency. Some constituents have been reacting to all of the happenings there. One of them has been speaking as to whether or not they will participate in the ongoing voting process. So there's the first individual, a lady, spoke of how she's not voting because she doesn't benefit anything. She asked for 1,000 cedis from the former member of parliament and could not get that, and she doesn't know why she should vote. The elderly woman, who was a second person, says that they came distributing gifts, dashing items out to constituents and the like. She didn't receive any of it, but she still made her way there to be a part of the electoral process. Ibrahim Abubakar is my colleague. He's been in the Kumewu constituency since dawn, monitoring the elections. Ibrahim, 2 separate incidents. It appears the one at Dadiase has still not been resolved. to vote for person number 2 on the ballot paper, but the NDC officials do not trust the EC to have helped select the number 2 person on the ballot paper. Reason why they are demanding that it be pulled out.
Exactly.
On behalf of the old lady.
Exactly. Yes.
And does it appear that it's been resolved? Because you mentioned Dr. Sribo Kweku is currently present there as well.
Exactly. Postman aside.
Been happening. So my colleague Ibrahim is currently in the Bodumasi voting center, and the indication is that a lot of big wigs of the NDC are present there. He says that the police is calling for reinforcement as well in relation to happenings there, because an old lady came to the voting center and wanted her little child who she came with to assist her, but the EC officials determined that she was underage and hence decided to assist her. But in assisting her to cast her ballot, her preferred candidate was not who the EC decided to settle on, reason for which the NDC there is demanding that the seals be broken off the ballot paper and that particular ballot paper be removed for the woman be allowed to vote again. Ibrahim, is it looking now like there is some headway being made at this particular point?
Well,
You've been monitoring the process across other areas as well. Now that it appears that there's some headway being made, what's been the general sense, the process in a number of the areas that you've been visiting?
so generally, with the exception of Muraso, which was also nearly chaotic because the NDC parliamentary candidate was also protesting similar one. But for his when you go there, like I said, the turnout is massive. And if you look at the number of people in queue, you realize that majority of them are within the age bracket of 50 to 70. So the agents. And these people are being buzzed there. That one, the NPP parliamentary candidate has confirmed or has admitted that that is a strategy to ensure that everybody or no one is left out of the voting process. So for people who cannot walk there who cannot see clearly, he has decided that they will pass them to the various voting centers to cast their ballots. But the challenge there also is that some of them come, they cannot see clearly, and they don't come even with their relatives. So someone like an allegation that they are saying from the NPP camp is the one who assists them to vote. So the NDC candidate was there and was also raising objection that we shouldn't allow that to continue. And there are people who even vote, you ask them why they are here, they can't even tell you why they are here. So he thinks that those people are not in their right frame of their mind to even partake in the voting process. And for that matter, he was accusing the NPP candidate of buying the vote of those people. But for NPP candidate, he also justified his stance. He said there is nothing wrong with asking people to come and vote. But as to whether they will vote for him or not, that one he cannot tell. Since he is not forcing them to vote for him, he is just providing the means of transport to the voting center. There is nothing wrong with it, and it is part of his strategy. And if the NDC candidate wants to adopt the same strategy, he can go ahead and do it. So the NDC candidate apparently left. He has reported the matter to the EC officials at Kumewu. That's where the regional and national officials are, and he has also lodged complaint to the police hierarchy.
Ibrahim, let's listen to Ernest Yawenim respond to those concerns, and then I return to you shortly.
Those are the tantrums of a losing candidate. He can equally do same. He can go and get old people into taxis and buses and bring them to the police. Nobody stops him from doing that. We are trying to get everybody to be part of the process. So as part of it, we have organized people to bring old people to the polling centers so they can be part of this process. So I don't think that it's something he should complain about. He should try to get involved in the process to getting everyone to vote, because this is an election that is going to determine the future of Kumewu and the future of Ghana and the 2024 election. So I feel that if he feels that we are putting in certain strategies and he feels that it's working to our advantage, he can also adopt the same. Yeah.
So that's Ernest Yawenim. He's the NPP's candidate speaking there. We know as well that there's a presence of a lot of bigwigs in the Kumewu constituency currently. Who are some of the individuals? You've mentioned Fifi Kwete, who's the General Secretary of the NDC, the Director of Elections of the NPP as well, amongst other individuals who are present. Who are the other top guns currently in the Kumewu constituency overseeing these elections?
Well, I've also seen Obra Dufour, who has been touring most of the voting centers. I've seen the likes of Akua. I've also seen so many MPs here, John Dubello, and others who are also here to support their candidates. And, you know, even with the polling agents, both the NDC and NPP have been strategic. If you look at the NPP side, they have decided that most of their polling agents, I've seen 90% of them are PCEs or MDCs, and some are even members of parliament. Same applies to the NPP as well, former MMDCs and also members of parliament, also serving as polling agents. They all say they want to be vigilant this time around so that everything will be done in a transparent manner.
A lot of the talk so far has been about the two leading parties, the NPP and the NDC. What about the two Kwekuduas who are also a part of this entire election process? It appears all of the news has been silent on the both of them.
Exactly. Personally, the areas that I've covered, it's been just MPP, NDC. The two Kwekuduas, the independent candidate for 2020, if you move around Kumewu, you realize that there is a bit of talk about him, people saying they will vote for him and other things. But the last Kwekudua, the new one who came in fact, I've not even cited him anywhere. I've not seen any of his supporters or anything. So I don't know whether he's also moving from some hinterlands that is not seen. It's not at Kumawu, it's not at Bodumase, it's not Awura. So these big three communities. Well, maybe he knows what he's doing his campaign underground. You know, even though we are voting today, the candidates are still doing what I'll describe as house to house. They are still moving from house to house, indirectly campaigning, but also telling electorates to go out there and vote.
Right, then Ibrahim Abubakar, he's my colleague who's been monitoring the elections process in the Kumawu constituency for us. Mentioned among many other things, some misunderstanding earlier at a number of places, Bodomase where he was at, and other areas, Adiase and Oyoko, amongst many other places. He appears all of that is being resolved to make way for voting to continue. We'll return to him again before we end the bulletin here on 3FM 92.7. But let's return to Accra now, and this time talk labor matters, because staff of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation say no staff there receives 82% increase in allowances as claimed by the Chief Executive Officer of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. The union again says no staff who is a labourer receives any computer special allowance and has 3 cooks at home. At a news conference in response to that letter from the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to the Controller and Accountant General directing it to cease the payment of what it termed as illegal or unearned allowances, the staff said a failure, or if they should receive their May salaries and it has been reduced, they will advise themselves.
And failure to that, we will use all legal means, including strike. The rest is a strategy, we will not communicate. We are by this notice serving the appointing authority and our management that if we receive May salary and these are not reflected, GBC workers will do the needful. GBC workers will find vaccine for that virus. Choboy! I encourage you to still to continue to work despite these difficult and challenging times. I know what's stressful. You come to work. Our fear now is that the way our senior management, they are heavily affected. You know, they flow queries. They are in charge of queries. This time around, they will use red pen to give you queries. We want to prevent that. Let's all come together. Because if your father is deprived of wealth, you, the son, your education, your health will be affected. So it touches all of us. That is why we come here as a joint union and serving notice wherever it is. They should revise the decision. GBC Union has been in the news over the years. We have strategically try to.
And that's the union chair of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation speaking there. Sam Kevo is divisional union chairman of the Public Sector Workers Union for the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. We can hear from him again, also rejecting some of the allowances and explicitly stating that they do not receive such allowances.
Wages and Salary Commission. Mr. Benata granted interview to the state broadcaster and peddled probable falsehood, and let me first deal with the falsehood. In the first place, we want to put on record that in our disposal, no GBC labourer is enjoying special computer allowance. We must emphasize on that. No labourer in GBC is enjoying special computer allowances. No GBC Liberal has 3 domestic coups.
So that's Sam Kevo. He is the Divisional Union Chair of the Public Sector Workers Union for the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. You're listening to the news here on 3FM 92.7. Let's talk education now, because the minority in Parliament says he has been vindicated by the report of the International Monetary Fund highlighting poor targeting in the implementation of government's free senior high school program. The IMF, among other reforms, is urging the review of the free senior high school policy to improve learning outcomes. The fund, in its assessment of the policy as part of the economic bailout program for Ghana, noted that the government spends close to 4% of its GDP on education with good results in terms of enrollment. However, the learning outcomes still remain poor. Speaking with 3FM, the executive director of the Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare, highlighted that IMF will be engaging stakeholders in the education sector, and he says that meeting will afford civil society the opportunity to peruse the educational reforms as highlighted in the IMF bailout.
Hopefully, there should be a meeting between CSS and the IMF on Wednesday. We are pushing to have an engagement with the Ministry of Finance before the mid-term budget is read, because we believe that a lot of reviews might be undertaken in the medium-term expenditure framework and also in the mid-year budget, so that some of the cuts will be restored in line with the policies we are seeing here. That, as I'm reading from page 12 of the document, government will see a potential improvement of education spending, including strengthening primary education resources.
That's the executive director of the Africa Education, or Peter Nochukoto, is ranking on the Education Committee of Parliament. He's joined us on phone. Many thanks, Honourable, for speaking to us this afternoon. And so, a sense of vindication from you for you in the minority. These comments by the IMF, but there are those who make the argument that Parliament has been near split, and the minority should have ensured that the government does a lot more in terms of achievement with its flagship program, the Free SHS.
Yeah, Mawuena, thank you and good afternoon. Yeah, if you remember very well, in 2017, when the government was going to implement its flagship program, we elected government that in as much as we believed in the free senior high school policy, its implementation had to be guided so that at the end of the day, we will have a smooth implementation, or inquire or expect quality education, and then access will be made easy. Well, government did not listen to us at the time, and 2 years later, we asked for a review of the program, that there were a number of bottlenecks which had to be removed. And these bottlenecks are still there, and government was not ready to listen to us. It only misconstrued our review to mean cancellation. And there was no way we were going to cancel the free senior high school policy. Having implemented it in 2015 on a progressively free approach, which was enshrined in the Constitution. So we as a minority, we are only telling government again that we told you so. Yes, it's true, the numbers have increased, if not tripled. But what quality of education are we giving our people?
Right.
That has been our main concern. And then the poor funding of the policy. As we talk now, government owes hundreds of millions of cedis to food suppliers. Schools or heads of schools do not receive funding to run the schools. So you realize that a lot of problems have bedeviled the free senior high school.
Right, and Honourable. We'll have to leave the. We'll have to leave the.
Hit very well.
We'll have to. Honourable, we'll have to leave the conversation here, unfortunately, because of time. We'll return to you for a lot more on this in our subsequent bulletins. That's the Honourable ranking on the Education Committee. Peter Nochukoto is speaking to us this afternoon. The business team is ready. Nanekia Mensah Aborampah. She's on standby to bring us the very latest in the world of business. A lot more news if you log on to 3news.com as well, and we'll be back on your radio as well to provide a lot more details in the ongoing Kumewu by-elections.
A very good afternoon to you. Thank you for staying with us. Time for Business Daily. My name is Nana Akua Mensah Aborampah. Coming up this afternoon, banking consultant downplays John Mahama's comments on banking licenses of collapsed banks. Also, GRA to soon arrest consumers who failed to demand VAT receipts, and we will be telling you why shortly. Please stay. And let's begin with this afternoon. The banking consultant Nana Otu-Echampo has downplayed comments by President Mahama to issue licenses to collapse banks following the banking sector cleanup exercise. Describing the move as a political talk, Nana Otu-Echampo said the former president will have to pass a new law to reverse the decision of the central bank.
Section 123 of the Banks and SDR Act clearly says that if you find a bank in such a situation, you have to take decision to resolve it. And that's how come some 7 or 8 banks were resolved. Some of the banks also left on their own accord, like Baroda and so on. So I think it's wrong to assume that some banks were collapsed or they lost their licenses through an unjust means. They lost their licenses through a legal means. And so to give their license back to them, they got to pass a new law. But no law can take retrospective effect. So I don't know how that can be done. So it has to be until one of those speeches they make on the political stand.
Banking consultant Nana Otu-Echampo there. The Ghana Revenue Authority has admonished the general public to demand VAT receipts for all transactions from VAT-registered businesses. Enforcement officer at the GRA, Joseph Annan, said a time is coming when consumers who fail to demand VAT receipts will be arrested and dealt with by the law. But we wanted to find out from you, we heard in the media circles that GRA has given some directives to companies to calibrate their system. Well, we apologize for that one there. We'll be bringing you the right sound subsequently. Well, let's take it now. Well, we do apologize once again for the loss of sound there. Subsequently, we'll be bringing you that particular bite. But another banking consultant, Dr. Abuaji Debra, is calling on the government to take a critical look at the country's balance of payments as a means of stabilizing the economy. According to him, the country has recorded a negative current account balance over the last 3 years, which is driven by 3 main components, that is non-oil imports, net investment income, as well as transfers. Also, a market analyst, Kojo Lecha, says there could be possible economic and financial implications for countries holding American debts if the U.S. fails to meet its pending debt payments by June 1. The United States is considering raising its debt ceiling of $31.4 trillion by June 1, a matter that has become such major political debate between Democrats and Republicans. Speaking in an interview with 3 Business, Mr. Lecha said emerging markets like Ghana may suffer the consequences.
There's a pending payment on June 1st, and if America is not able to meet this payment, we should see there's a possible economic and financial catastrophe that's going to have a rippling effect onto our market. Obviously, if the debt ceiling is lifted, it gives room for America to borrow more funds, which in turn should we should see a stable dollar, a stronger dollar. But in the reverse, if that doesn't happen, we should see the dollar pretty much come tumbling down. And the vis-a-vis effect is the CD gaining massively against the dollar. So we are yet to see. I mean, it's not yet 1st June, so we're yet to see if they're able to meet that obligation. The only way they can meet it is increasing their debt ceiling, and I think, I mean, that's what's going to happen. That should happen, but it's politics. It has to go to the Senate, House of Senate for approval and all that. So let's see how that goes.
Market analyst Kojo Lecha there. Meanwhile, the local currency has recorded some gains following the receipt of the first tranche of the $600 million from the IMF. The cedi depreciated by 1.9% in March and appreciated by 0.6% in April 2023. According to the governor of the Bank of Ghana, the marginal recovery was also supported by the conclusion of the successful domestic debt exchange program.
Amid positive sentiments on developments in the economy, the Ghana cedi depreciated by 1.9% in March 2023 and appreciated by 0.6% in April. The marginal recovery was supported by the successful conclusion of the DDEP, progress made with Ghana's external debt restructuring towards the attainment of the IMF program, weakening US dollar, and muted demand pressures.
You heard the governor of the Bank of Ghana there. Just before we go, Ghana's public debt stock has reduced from 575 billion cedis to 434.6 billion cedis as of December 2022. Again, that's according to the Central Bank's summary of economic and financial data for April 2023. Central Bank Governor Dr. Ernest Addison has attributed the reduction in the public debt stock to the gains also made by the local currency against the dollar.
When half your total debt stock is denominated in foreign exchange, slight movements in your exchange rate, the sensitivity of your debt to exchange rate movements become paramount in the sustainability of that debt. So this is one of the major problems that we have faced probably since 2020. Anytime you saw a slight movement in the currency, it complicates, the government has to find more resources to service that debt. And this is how the debt became almost unsustainable over that period. So yes, when you have a high composition of foreign debt in your total debt stock, you must be, sensitive to the management of the exchange rate.
Central Bank Governor Dr. Ernest Addison ending it for Business Daily this afternoon. When you log on to 3news.com, you have more business news updates there. Later on Hot Edition, we'll bring you some more business updates. My name is Nana Akua Mensah Aborampah. Black Rasta comes up shortly. Enjoy your lunch and have a good afternoon.
There is nothing as powerful as a mother's love.